My name is Dr. Deborah MacPhee. I am an Associate Professor of Elementary Education and Literacy in the School of Teaching and Learning and the Director of the Marion Jean Borg Center for Reading and Literacy. In this presentation, Collaborative Inquiry in a Professional Development School, Morgan Belcher, a doctoral student and co-researcher, and I elaborate on our systematic inquiry into developing, implementing, studying, and continuously improving upon an innovative model of teacher education. This inquiry was originally presented at the Literacy Research Association's annual conference in 2016. We each took on multiple roles as both participants and researchers in this inquiry. I as a university instructor, researcher, and PDS liaison between the university and the school district. Morgan as a first grade teacher in the school district, a PDS mentor teacher, a doctoral student at the university, and a co-researcher. Our work in professional development schools is focused on reducing the well-documented gap between theory and practice in teacher education by collaboratively designing and implementing innovations that bring school and university stakeholders together to examine and reflect on teaching and learning. We are grounded in Goodlad's concept of simultaneous renewal, in that we envisioned an innovation that promoted border crossing and deep reflection on the symbiotic relationship between theory and practice, as well as colleges of education and pre-K through 12 schools. An innovation in which we work toward grounding our instructional practices in theoretical knowledge, while at the same time theorizing from our practice. Bransford, Darling-Hammond, and LePage's framework for understanding teaching and learning helped us examine the complex intersection between knowledge of learners and development, knowledge of content and curriculum, and pedagogical knowledge. Methodologically, we drew on participatory action research. We engaged as full participants in the context we were working to change, and established an inclusive stance toward all community members who expressed interest in participating in this work. Additionally, we drew on aspects of design thinking and research. We negotiated the content and structure of the innovation we would collaboratively design, an innovation that would be implemented in the fall of each school year with time to reflect and revise or redesign between each iteration. This chart shows each iteration of a teacher education innovation over a 5-year period. The study we will report on in this presentation was conducted in Year 4 at School B, which was in its second iteration. The teacher education innovation was part of a literacy methods course embedded in a primary school. The model that was collaboratively designed was structured in 2-week cycles in which small groups of school and university stakeholders participated in shared instructional experiences and debriefing conversations. For each 2-week cycle, which focused on a specific literacy practice like read aloud, reading writing strategy mini lessons, guided reading, there were 4 host classrooms. During the first week of the 2-week cycle, the classroom teacher demonstrated a lesson on the focused literacy practice for a small group of stakeholders. Immediately following the lesson, the small group, along with the classroom teacher, met to discuss the lesson. There was a collaboratively designed protocol to guide the debriefing conversation, which ended with planning for week 2, in which a university teacher intern implemented a lesson to be observed and discussed in small groups of school and university educators. Each week, the instructor posted a lesson plan for the group members to offer feedback prior to the shared experience.
From the model and methodology Deborah just described, I will begin sharing about our research question, data analysis, and findings. As Deborah mentioned previously, I am Morgan Belcher. I teach first grade in the district the research was conducted. I am also a doctoral student at Illinois State University and served as a co-researcher in this project. The research question, what are participants doing with language during shared instruction debriefing conversations, guided our inquiry. This research project took place between a university and a school district with a 17-year professional development school partnership. Overall, the district serves 3,700 students in 11 schools. The elementary school where this research took place houses approximately 337 students, where 77% are considered low income. Teachers within the district are offered many opportunities for professional development from outside companies. Most of the professional development takes place during the summer. However, some is embedded in school improvement days throughout the school year. Numerous data sources were examined in this study. School documents, such as meeting agendas and principal emails, were considered. The syllabus and readings from the university course and student artifacts were data sources. And the written feedback provided before lessons on the course wiki, along with audio recordings of debriefing conversations, were also included. As Deborah described previously, there were a number of teaching cycles over a variety of topics, including mini lessons, guided reading, and interactive read aloud, to name a few, happening across many different host classrooms. For the purpose of this research, we were only using the audio conversations focusing on the writing workshop cycle. This included 6 20 to 30-minute conversations between interns, mentors, and university supervisors. All debriefing conversations were recorded during the meetings and later transcribed. To begin our data analysis, we each separately listened to the audio conversations. Then, together, we listened to the audio conversations as we were reading the transcripts. Using an inductive coding process, we would then discuss what we noticed about the conversations as we listened and read. Codes were then added to the margins. After all transcripts were coded, codes were organized into a qualitative codebook in an Excel file and grouped into themes. Color coding helped us organize the themes. After initial themes were generated, we went back through each code in the Excel file and compared it to the transcript again to see if the codes still fit within that theme. Some codes were added or moved to different themes. We found some codes fit within more than one theme. We used special characters to denote when a code fit in more than one theme and when a section of dialogue in the initial transcript had more than one code. After analysis, we found 6 themes emerged, the first being participants praise and encourage. We heard participants use language as simple as, "That's really good," or more specific language such as, "You had her share first," which was a good way to see what she is working on. Comments within the theme of praise and encouragement were kind and uplifting. Another theme from analysis showed participants made suggestions and offered critiques. As we were coding, we noticed hesitation in the language when participants made critical comments. We heard hesitations such as, "I still kinda wanted," or, I thought it was, Less direct language was used when a critique or suggestion was made. When listening to the conversations, we also heard mentor teachers provide many explanations and descriptions of their practices. As a point of interest, we also noticed there was less hesitation when an explanation was given as compared to critiques or suggestions. The next finding, recognize and acknowledge, participants were naming and noticing what they saw during their lessons. For example, on the first comment on this slide, the intern recognized that things get more complex as the grade levels increase. And the second comment shows a recognition of a student's engagement. Participants make connections was the fifth finding. Interns made connections to their own schooling experiences. And the second comment shows how the instructor made a theory to practice connection. She named how what was demonstrated in the lesson was also discussed in the intern's coursework. Finally, participants asked questions was the sixth theme to emerge. Questions about pedagogical decisions, such as, what would you have done differently? Or how did you feel about your pacing? As well as logistical questions about conferring with students were asked during the conversations. In addition, questions regarding the curriculum, in this case, the Lucy Calkins units of study, were also considered as participants navigated the curriculum guides provided to them through their administration. After initial data collection and analysis, Deborah and I looked back at the transcripts again and pulled out some dialogue within each theme and deductively coded it using the Framework for Understanding Teaching and Learning from Linda Darling-Hammond and John Bransford's work. Within this framework, it is suggested that teacher candidates should have knowledge of teaching, knowledge of curriculum, and knowledge of learners. As we were considering our themes, we were interested in knowing more about the focus of the language. Were participants talking about students, curriculum, or pedagogy? The idea to look at the data deductively emerged as I was reading a text from my doctoral courses, and I began to notice overlap in our research and the framework I was reading about. So far, we have deductively coded the questions theme. As you can see, a large percentage of the conversations focused on knowledge of teaching. With all of these findings in mind, I will conclude with some interpretations from our inductive and deductive coding. The highest number of comments from the debriefing conversations centered around praise and encouragement, and there was a hesitation to provide critical feedback or suggestions. Critical comments were made, but were not always elaborated upon and quickly moved back to the praise. The best conversations took place when there was an overlap among themes, when a section of conversation was coded with more than one theme. For example, when praise and encouragement was combined with an explanation, conversation seemed to be deeper. Overall, conversations focused on pedagogy more than content or learners. We also noticed a hierarchical structure of conversations emerge. Supervisors provided feedback to teachers, teachers provided feedback to interns, or we noticed intern-to-intern feedback in a top-down fashion. From this data and analysis, small changes began taking shape in the partnership. This study focused on literacy practices during each cycle, where in the next section, the course focused more on the broader literacy curriculum, and the focus of debriefing conversations shifted from pedagogy to student learning. In addition, instead of having interns teach a lesson in a classroom different than the one they are familiar with, interns now teach their literacy lessons in the Phase 1 classroom, a familiar environment. Also, just recently, a mentor teacher in the district commented on how she noticed her intern was asking more critical questions than she had noticed from previous interns. To wrap up our presentation, the partnership between the university and the school district continues to evolve to work to meet the professional development needs of pre-service teachers, classroom teachers, and university personnel. Deborah and I would like to thank you for viewing our presentation and learning about our literacy research in the Professional Development School. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. Thank you.